This is the decision-making meeting of the executive cabinet member for land and property, for regulatory services and licensing, and also for contracting, procurement and social value. So welcome everybody to the meeting. We've got two items on the agenda today. The first one is the monitoring report, and then we're going on to a decision paper. Ian, is there anything you need to say about the monitoring report?
It's been updated. Anything that's marked now completed will come off for next time, and it's for comment and observation.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is a document that I note. I've got just 3 items. I need to just say something very briefly too. So they're all numbered on the left-hand side. 27421, that's land at former Horwich Leisure Centre. Please do see the update regarding the hub, building and car parking. Then I just want to mention 13/2/2024. That's Prestoley Community Centre. It's a little bit inconsistent in the words on the last column. It says discussion with local councillors is yet to be concluded, but it also says draft lease sharing with ward councillors. Now, this work is progressing, and obviously we'll take questions. And the only other thing I want to add is many of you will remember that decisions that I've made on these meetings. One was new fines, the fines uplift. Also, I made a decision about the pest service, which was, the decision was free for rats and mice. They've now come off this monitoring report, but I want to just confirm to the councillors on this meeting that I will send you some narrative update, because you know that we'll have a look at this on a 6-month review. I think that's fair enough. So just because it's come off the monitoring report, I will need to just update you sometimes. Okay, so officers and members on the meeting, if you can use the raise your hand function, but if you think I've missed you, or please speak into the microphone if you think I'm not seeing that you want to speak. If anybody does, you know. Okay, Councillor Wilkinson, Tracy, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So obviously you just briefly mentioned it, Councillor Howarth, the Prestoley Community Centre. So I think, did you say it was 13th of the 2nd, 24 on the paper? Quite low down, isn't it? So a couple of things really. So the first one is we're still referring to it as Kearsley Community Centre, when it was agreed by ward councillors and officers that we would refer to it as Prestoley Community Centre. So that's just one point. And then, yeah, just to raise a couple of queries really about the content of it. So the first one is a draft of the lease has been shared with ward councillors. As a ward councillor of Kearsley, I can confirm that I've not received a copy of that lease and therefore not reviewed it. And also that it's been shared with several interested parties, which again, this is the first that I've heard of that. The lease should have really come to ward councillors before it was shared with any interested parties. And also, I'll just say it, I'm also disappointed actually. So the last update that we actually had as ward councillors was on the 1st of March, which was a Friday. After Friday, we had a meeting with officers and we've had nothing since then. I've tried personally to try and chase it. I was then told that it was under the leader's portfolio and that we would be informed and kept up to date. And then obviously this document has come out, the monitoring report has come out this week, saying that we've been updated, which we haven't. So I don't know who's going to pick up on that or comment on that, but I'll just leave that one there for you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to just make a couple of comments. So every time I've referred to this myself, and I'm going to back officers as well, they've said Prestoley Community Centre. Can I apologise? I think we've tried our best to get that title on this monitoring report changed, and it'll be the top action of the day from Ian, if he doesn't mind me asking Ian to just go into that monitoring report and change it. You know, the nuance might be that legally what the document said on the day has to go in the monitoring report. And I'm really sorry if that ends up being the feedback, if our lawyers say the document you made your decision on said basically did have the wrong title on, and it was from that day onwards that you gave the commitment to always use the right title. So it could just be that little nuance that they say actually what the paper was titled the day you made the decision. But we really many that are on this completely understand the Kersley villages and understand that due respect should be paid. Yeah, of course, you'll get an apology from me if you've not seen things that you ought to have done. If we look at the decision is written into the monitoring report paper. I think this is important, and everybody will be guided by this going forward. I did give a lot of authority. On number 2, it says, authorise the Director of Corporate Resources to agree and implement all related arrangements to enable, it was then Zach's Youth Centre, to be used as a council-owned local community centre Presto Lee Kersley. And within that, there is a lot of authority in the scheme of delegation where officers have powers to agree leases. Again, there ends up being some nuance to that don't need to get into the detail of too much about the value of the leases and so on. But in my decision, I did make that decision to give that to officers. So I think you've raised it yourself. You've said you became aware that it was a leader project. There were some things in Kersley that the leader had been involved in. So I think that we're just sorting this out now. Obviously, officers are doing this work, but my role in this, I've seen an email. So there is a commitment. There is a commitment from anything that I'm involved in that all ward councillors get sight of everything. And I'm sorry it's not been a straightforward where it's with the ECM for property. Is there anything I've missed out on that answer? I've done my best there. And you're not the only councillor or councillors that are suffering a little from some delay. You mentioned you were surprised at the timeline. There's a huge amount of work in property and there is some delay. Some things get held up because there's certain types of process with them. Some probably suffer some delay because of volume of work, I'm being honest. Do you want to raise anything else at all, Tracy, on this?
Yeah, so I absolutely understand that it's not a straightforward quick fix, and there was going to be some delay. We had an election this year, so that put stuff back. There's some work that needed to be done on the building, so obviously that needed to be done over the summer period and stuff like that. But the point I'm trying to make, Sue, is that this clearly says on the monitoring report that a lease has been put together, which we knew that was happening behind the scenes, and it is being shown to ward councillors. That has not happened. And then the other bit where it says about being shown to interested parties, in that meeting, it was discussed that ward councillors would lead on that, and the officers agreed that we could lead on that because we know the area, we know people who may be interested, other community groups and organisations that might be of interest. I know myself and Councillor Newall have put word out there, and we've had a lot of people come forward, and we've not been able to give them information in relation to the lease because we don't know what the lease is yet. So we've put them on the back burner on hold. And I've not got an issue with the delay at all, but clearly from the monitoring report, it looks like things have gone further on. A lease has been drawn up, a lease has been shown to interested parties, but we've just somehow been skipped as ward councillors, and all those interested parties that we had lined up of, not even getting a look in, as it seems. So yeah, that's all I say.
Okay, well, apologies for that. I know I tried to set up, I think it was 2 Teams meetings, but then sort of got caught out because it did look like there was a bit of busyness on another line of activity, which was that leader project. So apologies for delay, and we'll make sure that we'll get some meetings together to cover that ground that looks like it's been missed. Is that all right? Thank you very much. Oh,
just
Ian.
Also to say, Councillor Howarth, if you don't mind, the actual minute there is the minute from the decision at the time, taken from the report. So I mean, I've not altered that because that was set at the time it was made. So, okay.
I'm grateful for you clarifying, because that's what had wandered into my mind actually. So I hope that's clear. Because the decision paper was titled probably Kersley Community Centre, I'm getting information from Ian that the monitoring report has to represent that decision then. So obviously, apologies that that decision paper wasn't correct on its title, but from then on, we're always going to say Prestoley Community Centre. So when we keep writing in the updates, we'll try and remember that we ought to have Prestoley Community Centre somewhere in the additional update letters. I'll share this with everyone that works on this. So thank you very much. If there's no one else who wants to comment at all on the monitoring report, that's fine. I've noted that formally. Thank you, Ian. The next item on the agenda is a decision document that's about land and schools, and we've got with us the Deputy Director of Children's Services, Paul Rankin. If I can hand over to you, Paul, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll just give you a brief overview of the report. I'm sure most members will know the history of Thomason Memorial School. It's a school that operates for children who are deaf. It covers both primary and secondary age groups, round about 90 children on roll, and has had a number of building issues over the past few years, which has caused the school to relocate for a number of occasions, and they're currently in temporary accommodation due to issues with their current building. We, after a lot of conversations with the DfE, we have finally got Thomason included in the DfE school rebuilding programme, which will mean that the school will be completely rebuilt and will have state-of-the-art facilities for some of the most vulnerable children in Bolton, which is fantastic. But in order to take this to the next stages of things, we need to look at where that rebuild will happen. Ordinarily, rebuilds tend to happen on playing fields of schools, and then the school is dropped, and then that swapped round. However, with Thomason, the site is so tight, there's just no opportunity to rebuild on the current site as is. So a preferred site has been identified, which is the land that was formerly used for the King's Leadership Academy Temporary School, just off Leverage Lane. Before that was the site of the old Haywood Secondary School a long time ago. So it has a history of being used for educational purposes. So what we're looking for here is approval to use that site, which will then trigger the DfE to start all their feasibility works to move forward with the potential rebuild. And should the DfE progress with that site and confirm that also provides a unique opportunity to expand the footprint of Devonshire Road Primary School to cover the existing Thomason site, which then provides them with more outdoor space when they're particularly challenged at the moment. And it also gives potential for future expansion should it be needed, and also engagement with the community about community use as well. So happy to take any questions on the contents of the report.
Thank you very much, Paul. I think the report says, doesn't it, you wanted the new build to be near a secondary school, if you could do that. Yeah, it's in the report. I do remember. Yeah. Thanks for that. I'm just looking for hands. It makes clear in the report that this is brownfield land. Okay, Councillor Priest, please. You're on mute, Sue. Sorry.
Sorry, there's always one, isn't there? Paul, I know you've been talking to Councillor Hayes about this, because there has been quite a bit of interest in the land, not least to try and relieve some pressure of parking, etc., from the mosque that is on Devonshire Road. I believe that's not possible actually on the Thomas Memorial site, because that has to be used for a school. But is there some land there that can be considered that isn't DfE property or school property?
I think all the land that constitutes the school site if we were to dispose of that, we have to consult the Secretary of State for Education, and we'd basically get a no from them. That's something that we've investigated. I'm not so sure about the rest of that particular block and whether there's areas that aren't covered by that condition. I think I would have to pick that up separately with colleagues from corporate property and come back to you.
Yeah, that would be great. I know Councillor Hayes has been more involved in that than I. That was my understanding. I just thought I'd raise it now, and then it could be noted, and we could take that offline later. That would be great. Okay, thanks, Paul.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like you've got an action there with Paul Rankin then, Sue, if you're happy with that action off this meeting, yeah, as a more of a ward issue by the sounds of it, yeah. Okay, and with property, if you need to speak to property. So I think that's everybody who's wanted to raise anything today. So recommendations, I'll just read them. So I'm asked to I will approve the land use of the former temporary King's Leadership Academy School located off Leveredge Lane to be used for a rebuild of the Thomason Memorial Special School. And I'll also approve, subject to the Department for Education confirming the rebuild at the proposed site, approve the reallocation of the existing Thomason site to Devonshire Road County Primary School. And that is option 1 that's set out on page 5 of the whole document. So I've done that decision. So thanks very much, everybody, for attending the meeting today. You're on mute, Ian.
Sorry, I'll stop the recording now. Just one second.
Thank you. Yeah.